In 1888, the dark streets of Whitechapel, London were gripped by fear. A cruel killer, known only as Jack the Ripper, spread terror with brutal crimes that still intrigue the world today. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any shocking stories. Now let's learn about this mysterious history. In the late 19th century, Whitechapel was a poor and dangerous area of London. Workers and immigrants lived in precarious conditions, and the police faced difficulties controlling crime. In this gloomy setting, Jack the Ripper's victims were vulnerable women struggling to survive on the city's streets. Between August and November 1888, at least 5 women were brutally murdered in the city. They were, for the most part, prostitutes, living in destitution and facing daily violence on the streets. Their names were Mary Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The murders were cruel and carried out with extreme violence. The victims had their bodies mutilated with deep cuts and, in some cases, internal organs removed. The brutal nature of the crimes caused panic among the population and a frenzy in the press, which followed each new murder with great repercussion. London police launched a major investigation to capture the killer, but faced many obstacles. Whitechapel was a chaotic neighborhood with narrow streets and suspicious residents. Despite efforts, no concrete lead led to the identification of the perpetrator, increasing the mystery surrounding Jack the Ripper. Fear took over the neighborhood and all of London. People avoided going out at night, and women changed their habits to try to protect themselves. Posters with the killer's face circulated throughout the city, but no one knew for sure who Jack the Ripper was, nor what motivated him to commit such atrocities. Jack the Ripper always attacked at night in dark, secluded areas of Whitechapel. He approached women alone, usually prostitutes, and killed them quickly with deep cuts to the throat. Afterward, he mutilated the bodies with precision, indicating possible anatomical knowledge. Some victims had their abdomens opened and organs like kidneys and uteri removed with a technique that suggested medical knowledge. Mary Jane Kelly, his last and most brutal victim, was found in her own room, her body terribly disfigured. The crimes lasted only a few minutes, and he was never seen fleeing. Jack approached his victims discreetly, often pretending to be a client. Gaining their trust to lure them to isolated locations, he attacked quickly and lethally, which shocked even the most experienced investigators of the time. Many theories arose about the killer's identity. Some believed he was a doctor due to the precision of the mutilations. Others suspected an immigrant or even members of the royal family. To this day, experts and enthusiasts debate who Jack the Ripper might have been, as no definitive proof has emerged. The story of Jack the Ripper has inspired books, films, and series over the years. His mystery and brutality continue to fascinate audiences worldwide. Despite the passage of time, the case has never been fully resolved, keeping alive the legend of the killer who terrorized London and marked criminal history forever. Understanding historical crimes like those of Jack the Ripper helps us learn about the society of the time, the evolution of criminal investigations, and the cultural impacts of these events. Furthermore, it prompts reflections on violence, justice, and human behavior in extreme situations. Today, with advances in forensic technology and genetics, investigators are trying to solve old cases like Jack the Ripper's. DNA tests and digital analysis of historical documents are used to try to identify the true killer, showing how modern science can unravel past mysteries. The Jack the Ripper case led to important changes in how police operate in dangerous urban areas. Fear and public pressure led authorities to reinforce patrols and adopt new strategies to protect citizens, especially vulnerable women. Curiously, Cases of extreme violence against women were not uncommon in Victorian London. However, the brutality and pattern of the murders attributed to Jack stood out due to their repetition and symbolism. Other deaths were investigated to try to associate them with him, but none had the same macabre signature, keeping the mystery surrounding his true number of victims. The press of the time played a fundamental role in transforming Jack the Ripper into an almost mythological figure. Sensationalist newspapers exploited public fear and curiosity, publishing graphic details and speculations that fueled panic. The intense coverage also pressured the police, who faced constant criticism for the lack of answers. Even after more than a century, Jack the Ripper remains one of the greatest mysteries in criminal history. His legacy is dark, but serves as a warning and study for modern criminology. The story reminds us that violence can leave deep marks and that the pursuit of justice should never stop. One of the most intriguing details is that the killer even sent letters to the police and newspapers, signing as Jack the Ripper. Some of these letters are considered fake, but others contain details that only the true perpetrator of the crimes could have known, which further fuels the mystery. Modern experts believe that Jack had psychopathic traits, demonstrating coldness and planning in his crimes. Among them, the famous "Dear Boss" letter detailed crimes that only the perpetrator would know. Some letters are considered forgeries, but others contain precise information, such as the description of injuries. To this day, experts study the ink and paper of these letters in the hope of discovering clues about who was truly behind the macabre name. The most notable letters include "Dear Boss." This letter, sent on September 25, 1888, is one of the best known and includes brutal and threatening language, with Jack the Ripper referring to his acts as work and showing a morbid pleasure in his crimes. Saucy Jackie, or Saucy Jack postcard, a postcard sent to the police that contains similar language and style to "Dear Boss." From Hell, or Lusk letter. This letter, sent on October 15, 1888, was accompanied by a piece of human kidney and contained menacing messages addressed to decorator George Lusk. Jack the Ripper's letters are important because they provide insight into the viewpoint of a criminal who became a legend, and they contribute to the mystery surrounding the crimes. The letters are also important for historical investigation and for understanding the society and fear that the Ripper's crimes generated. In forensic analysis, his surgical precision suggests anatomical knowledge, raising hypotheses that he could be a doctor or someone with similar training. Furthermore, the fact that he was not captured indicates intelligence and caution, which makes his identification difficult even today. The mystery of Jack the Ripper has endured for over a century without a solution. His brutal actions, the gloomy atmosphere of Victorian London, and the lack of definitive answers continue to fuel debates to this day. The study of the Jack the Ripper case was a watershed moment in criminology. For the first time, investigators tried to create a psychological profile of the killer, analyzing his letters, attack patterns, and injuries. Today, this technique has evolved into what we call profiling, used in famous cases like Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy. If you enjoy real stories that mark the world, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and leave a like. Every week, we'll dive into new cases that shocked history. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.